You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplanar RPG, an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, body horror, monsters and monstrosity, blood, gore, fire, immolation, swimming, drowning, hypothermia, and death of loved ones. Arc 2, Episode 26. Death is Home. From Carved Inside an Empty Urn by Connie Chong. Mist erupts through the hall of peerless destiny in violent, rolling clouds of white. An avalanche of fog propagates across the city of heaven, muffling the rising dawn. A deathly pallor is cast over the bright sapphire halls of the Azure complex, the crimson peaks of the Vermilion Library, the obsidian tides of the Black River, the snowy depths of the White Forge. But this time, the gods haven't fallen into a nightmare. The nightmare has come to the waking world. The veil between reality and dream thins like a cloud pulling apart. This has already happened. This has never happened. This will happen. All three statements are true, and they are bearing down on the fabric of reality with jagged canines, a tiger's maw around the neck of a panicked deer. And panic, the gods do. They wail, they scream, they shout, they run, but most of all, they begin to transform. As the mist sweeps through the hall, the complex, the library, the river, the forge, all the gods of the city of heaven breathe in its monstrous influence. And in their panicked, terrified state, the influence corrupts them. We hear the creaking of bones, the tearing of flesh, the sundering apart of soul as the gods of heaven start to change. Humanoid bodies twist, they elongate, they sprout horns, fur, tusks, tails, scales, eyes, so many eyes and wings too. Hooves, claws, fangs, hides. Some gods shorten into weapons and sound and shadow, others morph into bestial forms, still others defy categorization, flitting between dream and reality in violent bursts of static. Only the four symbols remain intact, the strongest members of the city, their chosen leaders. The four symbols and the 5 cultivators in this hall. Cove, Ash, and Amaru rush to the symbol's side, weapons drawn, a perfect triangle of defensive positions taken to aid the gods of the city. But even Strike Team Phoenix hesitates. Even the 4 symbols hesitate, for their eyes are fixed on the most massive, most terrifying, most terrified monster in their midst. The beast of 4 symbols. As soon as the mist ruptured out of the masterwork sword, out of the Emperor's mortal wound, Xiao Cheng had gone very, very still. And it's not that they became bright, but rather that all the colors in the Hall of Peerless Destiny begin titrating toward them, like blood draining down a sink. The hues of your own clothes, your hair, your skin, your very soul start leaching in Xiao Cheng's direction, and Xiao Cheng becomes saturated. Their skin flushes vermilion, like the soul of a phoenix. No, their hair is azure, the color of a burnt sapphire. No, their teeth are black, pure black fangs of languid obsidian. No, their eyes are white, the color of a cloud of snow unblemished by blood, of mist. No, they are all the colors of the 4 symbols, and they are none of the colors of the 4 symbols, and now they are the size of the Hall of Peerless Destiny, and all anyone can see is orange. Orange. Orange eyes blinking wider than the hidden sun, orange and vermilion and azure and black and white, splintering across the hall as though reality itself were a mirror, and now that mirror has shattered, and every broken piece is a different color, holds a different sound, transmits a different grief. Lumièra and Seir, both of you please roll me a d4.
Not me having a fetch a
say
D4.
When I came here today that I was gonna be rolling the pointy ones.
Connie, this is a D6 system.
Uh-oh.
Well, you can suck my butt.
I hope 4 is not a bad number.
Okay, you got a 4? All right.
I got a 4.
Seir got a 4.
Give me 2 seconds to actually find a D4 because I'm digging in
So
my
funny.
dice bag and it's not.
Just find a
actually
pointy
being nice.
triangle.
Yeah, you would think, right? Like
Just
it would be
rummage
that
your hand in
simple,
there and
but
get
it
stabbed.
wasn't.
Yeah, just try to
I
get
finally
stabbed.
Found one.
Okay.
I don't love y'all that much. See, and that's what I get for talking shit. I rolled a 1, so.
A 1 and a 4. Wow. The high and the low end. Excellent. So, Lumièra and Seir, as soon as the mist explodes outward and Xiaocheng transforms, everyone whose hand was on the hilt of that sword, all of the symbols, Ansha, even Strike Team Phoenix, who are all crowded around that dais, you get flung backward. You get kind of flung across this hall as the mist explodes. And as that happens, you all notice that the reality within the Hall of Peerless Destiny has shattered into countless pieces. It's like you're standing inside a kaleidoscope, inside a broken mirror, where every shard refracting around you, every beam of light is a different color. 4 colors, to be exact, repeating infinitely. And all of these colors are streaking out of Xiaocheng, who's the only person remaining by the Sandalwood throne, as though they are a prism being held up to the sun. Seir, you rolled a 4. You stand in a realm of steel. Inside the Hall of Peerless Destiny, everything you see is metallic. Everything is gilded with metal. Everything, in fact, is a weapon, with bladed edges in the place of arms, lashing whips in the place of tongues, and blank, smooth, chrome-plated faces. And the light, as you look around here, is dazzling white, so bright you can hardly see, and everything around you is sharp, so sharp, as thin as a razor blade. And as you land inside this shard of reality, let's say, even the ground is sharp, and it skids and gouges into your back as you slide across the earth, and I need you to take bleeding 2. Would you like to resist this? Or will you just take it?
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll just take it.
Sounds good. Lumièra, you rolled a 1. As you're flung back, how fitting, you stagger into a realm of flame. Everything here is burning, everything is on fire, everything is red and crimson and vermilion. The heat is so strong, it feels cold. And you hear the roaring of flame, the whispering of ash, the acrid, pungent slick of oil, and a memory deep in the back of your mind of a baron laughing. Seir and Lumièra, what did the two of you do?
I'm in a shard of reality away from Lumièra. I cannot see her, yes?
You can, actually. Both of you are still in the Hall of Peerless Destiny. Again, it's like you're standing inside a kaleidoscope, and the one fragment you're currently physically positioned in is either steel or fire. But you can see other fragments cutting down like beams of light all around you, and each fragment is a different color and imposes a different reality onto the hall. So you see Seir from your position, Lumièra bathed in flame, and Lumièra from your position, you see Seir covered in metal with chrome-plated features. Let's say, Lumièra, you've been thrown back basically to the base of the throne. You're closer to the Emperor than anyone else in your strike team, and Seir, you've been thrown a couple dozen feet back to reach the steel surface.
Lumièra needs me. Lumièra needs me. And I will scramble to my feet, cutting bits of me all over the steel and blades all around me. And Seir is going to try and clamber out of this reality however I can.
Okay.
I'll burst out of here if I have to.
All right, sounds good. As you start to clamber to your feet, right, your back's like stained with your own blood, warm and sticky against your skin, you feel a tug inside you. A very familiar tug, a tug you have been able to school away because you've had patience and violence, but now you don't have them anymore, do you? Your moonsicles have left you, you've sent them away, you are unprotected, literally, physically, but also spiritually, unprotected from yourself. And the familiar feeling sinks deep into the pit of your gut, and you know what it is. It is an omen. There's something coming at you very fast from behind. The omen is warning you. How do you react? You have 2 seconds.
Seir reacts and pivots away.
Okay, as you dodge out of the way, you see one of the monstrified gods leaping out of the mist, and as it leaps through the air, it cuts through a beam of red light. So it goes from being on fire to entering your space, and then it turns into a pure chrome monster. It looked like maybe it was a cross between some sort of lizard-like creature, but it has wings, 2 sets of wings arcing out of its back, as well as razor-sharp talons, and it like slides into the ground, gouging the steel-plated chrome, and then slides into another beam of light that is pure blue. And it looks as though it's underwater in this beam of light directly in front of you. It starts scrabbling across the earth and jumps at you again and turns chrome-plated as it enters your space.
Seir feels that tug within him, and he just says, no, not now. I'm stronger now. I'm better now. And as it lunges at me, I want to suck it in the face.
That sounds like you're unleashing violence to me, my dear friend.
I sure am.
So roll 2d6 plus tags.
2d6 plus tags I will use. A brother's devotion, how to hunt, bulwark, and precise counterattack. And because I saw the omen, seeing omens.
Okay, let me just check my notes real fast. Don't worry about it. I'm just consulting some things and cross-checking some things. I'm gonna need you to use the weakness tags, weak to gods. Just a weapon. And I think that's it for now. So that's a net, I think, 2, yes? Because you
2,
invoked
yeah.
4 tags? Okay, go for it.
Okay, that's exactly a 7. What happens on a 7? I don't even remember what happens on a 7.
So on a 7 to 9, you exchange blows, basically. So without being armed, how do you attack this monstrified god?
This monstrified god leaps out, because it's like lizard-like, right?
Yes.
As they leap towards Seir. I'm better now. I'm stronger now. I don't need your lies or your illusions. And he will lean backward and slam his right fist right across its face to try and pummel it into the blades elsewhere.
Yeah, there are blades. The ground itself is a big blade, basically.
Yep.
So you punch this thing's head against the ground, and because it's not your hand making it bleed, it's like the earth itself. You see bright green, godlike blood spill out from its head as you cut his face against the blades. But then at the exact same time, a tail unsheaths from behind it like a scorpion stinger, and it pierces against your shoulder and gouges deep into your flesh. And I need you to take advanced bleeding to bleeding 3.
Okay.
And as that happens, you see this god scrabble underneath you and then kind of tear itself against the blades on the ground. It's like lacerating itself open, but then it scrabbles back onto its feet. Now you kind of see it bleeding on one side of its body, but it's still empowered with this frenetic, frenzied, fearful, gibbering violence. And it comes at you again. And when it does, you hear a voice in your head. Seir. A voice you've tried to forget, a voice you've tried to turn away from, and yet that still comes to you in moments just like this. You are not strong enough, boy.
No. I won't You're just like Oregnis, spilling lies into my ears, and I will not listen to that poison.
Fist back. Channel your rage. Control it. Hold it like a blade. And it will obey if you just launch it with no direction. Is it any wonder that this happens? And as the god attacks you again, I assume you punch it again to kind of protect yourself?
I think Seir doesn't try to punch it because he hears this voice, this man, ask him to hold his fist like a blade, and he rejects it. So instead he holds his arms out like a wrestler to attempt to grab it and toss this god out of this fragment of reality. But you can let me know how well that goes.
Sure, because of the mixed success, you're able to wrestle it, but you also get kind of thrown out of this steel universe, and you tumble into the universe directly adjacent to it, which is the one full of water. And then it's immediately like, poof, you're cold and wet. And everything around here, you realize it's not actually blue. It was so dark it seemed blue. It's black. The water here is pure obsidian. You can barely see anything. You can barely even see the other beams of color and light cutting in across the hall around you. It's just you and this thing is attacking you. It's trying to bite at you like a wrestling. And as soon as you enter this new prism of reality, I need you to take Frozen 2 as the cold starts to seep deep into your bones. Do you try to resist
We are resisting this.
Okay, so which
tags
tags are you burning? Yep.
I am burning hollowness because Seir is tapping into that coolness within him to not be frozen by this. I'm taking hollowness. I'll burn that. I will burn can't be surprised.
Sounds okay. Ooh, that's a big one to burn. All right, so that is a 0. So you're able to like basically fight this off with like your pure toughness and constitution as you plunge into this realm of water. Everything here is submerged. Your hair and your robes are flowing. Your trousers are floating around you as though in an unseen breeze. Air bubbles are pluming outward from your nose and mouth and the nose and gibbering mouth of this beast you're wrestling with. And the water here is so cold. So cold it feels hot. It's crushing against your lungs and you are so slow and cold and sluggish in it, but even as air bubbles plume from your mouth, you hear that voice again. Again, that familiar yet unfamiliar voice, that voice that cloaked itself, you think, in Oregnis' voice, but is also different from Oregnis' voice, has its own cadence, its own timbre, its own sense of harmony. And this voice says, I'm trying to help you, child. You do not know how to wield this power without me. Let me guide your hand. That sounds so familiar to what Oregnis told you back in the Wild Sea. And it ruined everything, didn't it, Seir? Everything.
Everything. You took my sister from me. I will not let your doom take me. No.
As you shout, water pours into your mouth. Actually, let me retcon that. Maybe that's a little too much. I'm gonna retcon that. Water doesn't come into your mouth. You're good. As you shout, air bubbles plume outward from your mouth with the force of your aggression, the force of your cry, the force of your determination as you grab and wrestle this beast and tumble through the water. And then we cut, in the midst of this tumble, over to Lumièra. Lumièra, you're in a prism of fire. You can see the Emperor in front of you with Xiaocheng next to them. And Xiaocheng looks both small and large at the same time. Their eyes are both just the size of a regular person's eyes mounted in their face, and they are the size of twin suns flaring out in pure orange beams. And their tears are both the size of regular tears trickling down their cheeks, and they are the size of rivers pouring through this hall. They're kneeling by the Emperor's body, and above the Emperor's head, you see it again, the X glitching in and out of existence, in and out of existence. It's by the Emperor, and Xiaocheng is the only place where there's no pieces of prism and color and warped reality. But you are still in one right now. What do you do?
I think Lumièra is frozen again for a split second, just briefly. The interesting part about this is that while the color was drained from everywhere and is focused in sections, it is no different from how the world seems to Lumièra regularly now without her. She doesn't see in color anymore either. But the part that makes this all the more interesting is the kaleidoscope view. The more Lumièra has learned, the more Lumièra has studied, reality doesn't look like reality to her anymore. It's always been fractured right out of her periphery, even though her determination, her view has been straightforward. It's always been broken off over in the corners. So when she focuses and tries to figure out the best determinate way to get back over to the Emperor, the periphery of her vision is no longer fractured like a kaleidoscope, but those fractures turn into gears and lock in place for her. And much like how she learned how to break out of the liminal, she will reach into the kaleidoscope view of where she's at with her left hand, her gilded fingertips reaching in and breaking apart as if she is trying to separate herself. Time is not a thing to her anymore. Time is not hard. Time is natural. Time is her, just like breathing. So she uses that to her advantage and breaks out, or attempts to break out.
I love that. First, by standing in this realm of flame, I need you to take Burned 2. It's very hot here. Would you like to try to resist this or reduce the status?
I'll take it. It's fine.
Sounds good. The next thing I need you to do is to channel your power. So roll 2d6 plus tags to break out of the kaleidoscope and approach the Emperor.
Forbidden knowledge, love is power, control of time, threading the journey, shielded by time, created liminals. I will, however, inflict one more time. Fatigued. And doesn't underestimate its power, so that's what, a net 4?
Okay, yes. I'm also going to inflict Disrupts the Journey, because you're kind of locking into your time magic here to kind of like break yourself out, similar to how you broke out of the liminal. That's a plus 3. Yes. I'm also going to inflict Haunted 1, so that's a plus 2.
Okay.
Yeah, you're still kind of...
This is channel
still
power, right?
Yes,
okay.
Channel your power, plus 2.
Oh, that jumped out. Hold on. 9.
Okay, pretty good. So on a 7 to 9, choose one. The effect is limited or the effect is volatile.
You know what I'm gonna choose.
I know. Volatile, right? Okay. So as you reach forward and break yourself out of this kaleidoscope, you do it. You step out of this realm of fire and it's no longer burning. The heat subsides, or was it coolness? It was so hot, it was cold. And you step out of the kaleidoscope. You've traversed this veil of illusion, of fractured reality, and you find yourself at the base of the throne, right? 1 foot up on the ramp that leads to it, close to Xiaocheng, close to the Emperor's limp body. It is volatile, however, because when you break out of the kaleidoscope, everything shatters behind you in a ripple effect and shifts. And Seir, you feel yourself moving as though along a conveyor belt, as everything about the battlefield just completely changes and shuffles like puzzle pieces, smashing against the ground and then getting swirled around. We see Strike Team Phoenix, who are in the middle of helping the symbols fighting off monsters, helping Zhiling, Chunxing, Lu Hua, and Lang Hui try to calm the frenzied gods and their peers and colleagues in the city. They also get thrown all around into various different beams of light, various different shattered fragments of reality. And Seir, you get shoved. Let me see. Okay, you get shoved all the way to the front. Pushed right up next to Lumièra, essentially. And as you break out of the liminal as well, and as you break out of the kaleidoscope as well, roll me a d4 to see what the final beam of light you end up in is before you leave it.
Seir?
Yes, Seir.
3.
A 3! It's the water realm again. So you're going to take another degree of frozen. You're going to take frozen 1 as you kind of gasp into another place of pure icy water and then exit it. Would you like to resist it?
No.
Okay, so you put frozen 1 on your sheet, and as you step out of it, sopping wet, right, covered in blood, gouges and gashes, right, that beast you were wrestling with has also been whisked away in the tide somewhere, like you two were separated. You kind of cough up some water, and you can see ice crystals kind of rhyming up your forearms, though they haven't fully taken hold.
Am I closer to my patient?
You can run right up to the Emperor if you would like.
Then I don't care about what happened behind me.
Okay. Lumièra, you make a beeline toward Emperor Longdu, and as your feet, which are still scorched and burning, but starting to simmer down now, pound against the tiles, leaving fiery footprints in their wake, we sweep across the hall of peerless destiny, all the way up, the roiling fountains of mist to find the very top of the White Forge. Xainan, the Hall of Peerless Destiny is not the only place this corrupted mist touches. Up here in the White Forge, fog thickens around this fight between you, Yinghe, Naim, and the Forge Master. It blankets this darkened cavern in a blinding sheen of white, pressing against your skin, your hair, your eyes, your very soul itself, trying to find purchase in the cracks in your armor. This is not the liberated mist that sprang from the River Gord, which was full of jubilation, mystery, and wonder. This is the mist that haunted the Dreaming City, the mist that spawned monsters, the mist that preyed on the worst nightmares of the gods trapped within it. This is the mist corrupted by Shuijiang. And as Shuijiang's hammer comes down, it's not at you or even at Naim or Yinghe, it's down onto her anvil. Clang! And as that clang resounds, the mist thickens around your ankles and shins like a white current of water. And as the Forge Master lifts her hammer off the anvil, impossibly, the mist obeys. It swirls around the hammer as though called to the entity influencing it, corrupting it, and Shuijiang's hammer glows bright white. And so does her axe. And then she clangs her weapons together. Clang! And pure white light explodes out of the impact. It sweeps across the forge, slamming into you, into Naim, and into Yinghe, who's picked himself up off from the wall. And as you're thrown back, I need you to take Marked by Death 2. Would you like to resist it?
Yeah, because that's going to take me up to 5, so I'm going to resist
Okay.
1.
Okay, what tag are you burning?
I'm going to burn... Oof. Okay, I think it's time to... I think the mist coming up has, again, entered that place of ash and dust, and now this mist again, and an instinct kicks in, his calling survivalist, and he goes to try and grab anything that he can to slow himself.
Yes, in fact, what you grab is Yinghe, who shouts to you, Xainan, this is for you, and throws in that beautiful curving blade patience at you. And your hand is outstretched, and you're able to perfectly grab the handle if you would like, and use the blade to kind of slow being pulled against, like drag it against the ground.
Absolutely, he receives it and registers what it is, and feels almost like he can hear Seir's voice calling him back from this place that he has let himself go to, as he feels patience in his hand and he digs it deep into the forge as hard as he can.
I love it. Yeah, you create like a deep gash, and you're pushed back less than Naeem and Yinghe both are as you dig patience in and come to a stop. You look up at the Forge Master. So now I think Yinghe and Naeem are going to act as your allies, and then we'll circle back to you because the Forge Master just acted. Yinghe threw patience at you, assesses the situation, has less of a stake in staying here and fighting than you and Naeem do. And you feel the shadows in this space begin to elongate as Yinghe tries to basically sink the three of you into the shadows back to the hall to reunite the strike teams. But even as shade pulls outward from Yinghe's feet, Shuijiang tilts her head in the other direction, her two weapons glowing, and says,
"Little shadow, haven't you ever heard the phrase, light always vanquishes darkness?"
And she clangs her weapons together again, and such blinding light fills the White Forge that it destroys every piece of shadow that could be in here. It's so bright that Yinghe's power flickers and then stutters out. No! And they look up with wide eyes. They've never been cut off from their own shadow before. And Naeem lets in a quick, sharp breath, and they throw out a fan of prayer papers, slips that surge forward like paper birds, and they stick everywhere on Shuijiang's body, and then they connect into each other like a long, sinuous strand of ribbon, wrapping itself around Shuijiang's entire body like a whip, trying to restrain her. And you recognize what this is. This is one of Naeem's most powerful moves. He doesn't use this lightly. It takes a lot out of him. And you see holy sigils glowing red hot on the surface of these prayer papers. And one length of it ribbons back to Naeem as he holds it. He drops the shields to make this happen. And you know what this does, how it works. It's a move that Naeem does to rebuke wickedness. So basically, the more Naeem despises his target, the hotter this paper will burn, and the more damage his target will take. It's a purely emotionally rejuvenated action. And he lets out like a strenuous noise as those sigils glow, and there's almost like a burning sound, like a off of the surface of Shuijiang. But she looks down and very carefully and casually lifts one of her bound arms, and Naeem strains against it, and their heels dig in and they're pulled forward from the strength of Shuijiang just lifting her arm, and she says,
I sense it from you, cultivator. And from you, half ghost. The vileness of your anger toward me, the righteousness of your rage. Both of you seek to hurt me, don't you? To make me bleed, to make me regret what I've done. Good. Let the darkness feed you. Let the hatred run through you. It is what makes you strong. Like me!
And she flings her arms out and ruptures Naeem's prayer paper and sends him flying back and slamming against an anvil.
Naeem!
I'm okay! But he coughs and you see blood come out of his mouth.
That blood.
That's right. Let it flow through you, Xainan.
That blood is the last straw. And Xainan can feel that burning sensation, that hot fury that was fueling Naeem's spell rise in him. He looks to patience in his hand, and he can feel rage at oblivion. And he looks up at Shuijiang and runs towards her. And this time he gets up, pulls his bow, and is going to try and run straight at her. And try and hide just his movement quickly, and he's going to quick step so that he can actually try and slide across the floor on the opposite side of the forge and try and shoot her in a vulnerable position. But this time he remembers what made him successful the last time he fought a god. And he digs deep in that place where all of that thundering oblivion lives, the howling of the wind, the burning of the fire, and he digs deep into his nightmares. And he is going to call upon his ghosts to shoot.
Okay. I think that's unleash violence. So roll 2d6 plus tags.
All right. So, Sentinel against the ending.
Okay.
Student of those before.
Okay.
The birdsong bow.
Okay.
Deadeye.
Okay.
And untethered existence.
That's 5. Let's see. I'm going to invoke the Blade of Grief because yes, you're calling on the ghosts, but it still hurts to remember that they're ghosts and that they're gone. You've only very recently started to crack open that door. Speaking of which, I'm also going to invoke a closed door. You're struggling against the comforting, right, coping mechanism of just slamming that door shut and then allowing yourself to open it here. Haunted by dusty memories, right? Conjuring these ghosts might do you more harm than good, peering upon their faces, and longing for what is gone, because the ghosts might distract you from your purpose as they swell up and remind you of what you're fighting for. So that's a net 1.
Right. I've got to roll better.
No! Xainan, what did you get?
It's a 6 total.
That's
Kai?
a miss. Okay.
Are we gonna have to set your dice out in the moon too before every Saturday? Is that what we're gonna have to start?
This one's rough.
Giving you the Seir treatment? Is that what we
This
need
is
to do?
rough.
The he-hims are starting to slip again. Okay, on a 6 minus,
Uh-oh.
your opponent proves even more formidable than anticipated. The GM will describe the desperate corner you're now backed into. Okay. Xainan, you pull off what you were trying to pull off with quite a lot of aplomb. I think you slide, you divert her attention, you notch that arrow, and you let it loose, with the memories of the ghosts of everyone you've ever loved and lost swelling up inside you as a chorus, making your aim steady, steady, steady. But as it looses, where are you trying to have the arrow hit, Shrityang?
I think again he's going for that hammer hand.
Okay, the hammer, like the arm. Okay.
Yeah.
This time, the arrow doesn't just split into 2, it shatters into 1,000 different pieces. It just shatters against her arm like her forearm is just pure diamond, which very likely it is divine diamond. And as the pieces clatter onto the ground, Shijiang says,
Your wrath is there, but it's not quite been tempered yet. It needs to be quenched in the water of, let's see, loss.
and she reaches down as Naeem is struggling to his feet and grabs Naeem by the hem of his cloak and lifts him off the ground. And Naeem's eyes widen. He summons sutra papers that wrap around her arm, but it's like nothing to her, right? It's like these restraints aren't even felt, and she strains against the restraints and they snap, snap, snap like rubber bands as she lifts Naeem off the ground.
I want you to watch as I snuff out his light, and let that empower you. And remember your powerlessness in this moment. Let it fuel you. Let it make you strong.
And she lifts the axe in one hand and is starting to arch it up into the sky. And Xainan, what emotion is swirling through you in this moment?
Faced with all of this, his heart starts to pound, his living heart. And there's a desperation inside of him that isn't about surviving anymore. He can feel a tight tether of something fond and beautiful and kind inside of him pull him as I think he's slid into the wall taking that very aggressive shot and off the wall, and he can't stop himself from moving forward because in him there is love.
Xainan, as the impulse of rage starts to fade against the impulse of love rising, it's like two different sides of you in conflict. The desperation, the fear, the love, the preemptive loss, right? The fear looking at Naeem. And then you hear something whistling down from the sky next to you. And even though there's a ceiling here in the White Forge, the arrow that Artemis told you to shoot into the sky comes down in this moment. It comes through the ceiling, and it is pink. It is pure pink, and it into the ground next to your boot. And as it does, so does a silhouette of Sing. Pure pink, glowing pink, a white mane of hair. And you don't hear her voice, really, even though her mouth moves. You just hear the intention and the emotions of it coming towards you, beaming deep within your soul, glowing with pure sunlight. And you won't remember what Sing says to you after this moment, but the emotion that her words fill you with is true, and you know what this arrow can do. It can make a god bleed. And Xainan Esh, above Naeem Zaran's head, and above the Forge Master's head, you see a red X flicker in and out of existence as time seems to dilate, seems to slow down as that axe starts to come down. And I need you to tell me, Xainan, do you notch and shoot this arrow to kill Shrityang or to protect Naeem?
A tear rolls down his cheek that he didn't even realize was there as he picks up the arrow to use it as a shield to protect Naeem Zaran.
Okay. What does it look like as you shoot Sing's arrow?
I think the arrow traces pink in the air as he lifts it. And even though his hat was cast aside a while ago and paces away, just under his hair, cherry blossoms begin to just grow and roll down his clothes, lacing in with all of the stitching on his kimono feathers. And he begins to radiate with pink and flowers and love. As he draws the arrow, it traces a hot pink line through the journey as he draws it to shoot, to stop her.
You shoot her in the axe-bearing arm for the third time?
Yes.
And this time, this pink arrow, like a blade of pure sunlight, hits its target true, and it sticks through the flesh of this god. The Forge Master staggers, trembles, drops Naeem, eyes widen in surprise and shock that she could feel this pain, feel this blood creeping out from her arm. She lowers the axe-bearing hand and looks almost in wonder at the pure white blood flowing down her arm, dripping into the crook of her elbow and then onto the ground. And as Naeem falls onto the ground, he coughs out and tries to pull himself back up as his last words change. Back in the Hall of Peerless Destiny, Lumièra, you have reached the Emperor's side. Xiaocheng is right next to you, but they are in a kind of catatonic, monsterfied state. They're kneeling next to the Emperor, but they're not moving. The masterwork sword is still in their hand, but it's limp, almost like the slightest breeze could undo it from their grasp. And their eyes are wide and unfocused, and light is shooting out from them as though they are a prism refracting colors in every direction. The Emperor is right next to them. What do you do?
I think Lumièra, in a just fear, determination, grit, and resolve, she doesn't even guess they're going through something right now, and she has bigger fish to fry. So Lumièra actually pushes Xiaosheng away.
Okay.
Away from the Emperor and drops to her knees. Where is Zherling in all of this? Are they looking directly at what's happening? Are they keeping guard? Is she like what?
Yeah,
what-
Zherling is in the midst of the melee, basically. It, along with the other symbols, is fighting and wrestling with these gods, flitting between the different rainbow constellations of color, trying to calm the monstrified gods alongside the other symbols. Basically, like, knock them out, make sure they're peaceful in
She's
one area.
distracted.
Yeah, she's busy protecting and helping the gods of
Perfect.
this place.
Because what
Yes.
I'm about to do is not going to be nice.
Okay.
Lumièra, she knows she has to stop the bleeding. The only way she can is the tourniquets are not working. She's still bleeding out. So Lumièra just shakes her head, takes her two left fingers and her thumb, reaches into the stab wound itself to pinch the veins closed. As she reaches in, both of her hands absolutely bloody and covered. She has her first aid kit open next to her. She's applying liquid stitches with her right hand to where she is pinching the veins closed before, with one hand in her teeth, she's threading a needle, making a stitch as she digs it in and out intricately through the wound. Once the vein is sealed and is able to pump again, she can close the wound and we can work from there. Liquid stitches will dissolve, harmless. And she's back in, eyes laser focused as she's pinching this vein closed before she pulls her fingers out to finish the stitch in the wound itself to close it.
Jesus Christ, yes. I'm actually gonna ask you to connect here. Literally connecting the veins back together. But also, this is a moment of connection between you and the Emperor to see if you're basically on the same level where you're able to do this. So roll 2d6 plus tags.
Okay. So
Yeah.
tags again, first aid and healing, diagnoses, stabilizer, love is power, threading the journey, reverting time to heal, inflicting, fatigued, not needing a stabilizer because I've already given the Emperor a stabilizer period earlier, so I don't have to worry about that. But I will inflict fatigued, as well as doesn't understand this power.
Okay, so that's a net of... Sorry, I lost track after like 5.
I think that's 3. If
That's
that's
a
the
net of
case,
3?
but I think
Okay, yes.
inflicted, yeah. If
Excellent,
it's
so
5,
plus-
then I inflicted
yes.
2. Okay.
Roll plus 3.
That's only an 8.
Okay, that's a mixed success. So what intimate thing are you revealing here as you're trying to stitch the Emperor back together? I want to hear the words that fall from your lips as you're trying to stabilize the immortal dragon.
Lumièra is she's pinching these arteries together to connect them back, and she's muttering back and forth to herself. Some of it is in a language she doesn't even know she knows, but she knows it. And then it's, not again. I will never lose another person. No one else will feel what I feel. Never again. In her will, we trust.
As these words fall from your lips, here is the mixed part of the mixed success. The thing that is revealed that is secret, intimate, or dangerous in return, this is all 3 of them. As you speak, you feel yourself as though you were falling into not just the wound, not just the Emperor's blood, but into her very soul itself. As you're stitching her back up, you are also stitching a part of yourself into her in this moment, and you sink. Lumièra, you follow the Emperor. The Emperor has gone somewhere no ordinary mortal can go, but you are not an ordinary mortal, Lumièra. When you opened your eyes, upon realizing they were closed in the first place, you find yourself on the bank of a river. Not just any river, an unending river of mist, flowing from horizon to horizon with no beginning, no end. It simply is. And encircling this river, in the form of a limitless boundary, is, well, nothing. Nothing at all. It's not blackness or darkness, it's simply absence. The void between stars, the death of death itself. Oblivion. That's where this river leads, from its unending beginning to its everlasting end, from nothing to nothing. And standing on this riverbank next to you is Emperor Long Du. She looks different than she does in the waking world, different even from how she appeared in the dreaming city. She's wearing armor, lamellar armor with small steel plates stitched atop rawhide. There's a pauldron on one shoulder, carved from purple jade, in the likeness of a snarling dragon. A sword is strapped to her hip, and her hair is up in the style of a military general. She carries a helm under her arm with two long, thin feathers streaking out from the top. A set of twins, really. One of the feathers is purple, the other is silver. If Long Du noticed your arrival, she doesn't show it. She's facing this rolling river of mist with deep and weary contemplation. And when she speaks, you're not sure if she's addressing you or the river itself. It's been so long since I've seen the mist like this. And the Emperor sounds younger, more mortal, perhaps. An unbroken river, flowing between our realms, guarding the world of dreams from the world of the waking. It's a reminder that one day, all of us will return whence we came. Seir, as you step out of the kaleidoscope and approach Lumièra upon that dais with Xiao Cheng next to her, you see Lumièra with her hands elbow deep in the Emperor's chest, stitching her together, and then you see Lumièra slow and freeze. She stops moving, almost like she's fallen asleep while still awake. What do you do?
Sam looked like they wanted to say something.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna add something in on the end of that as well too. I think
Please do. We'll edit it in the
When-
podcast.
Lumièra recognizes that it's oblivion, the mist of oblivion that she's looking out to. I think it even takes her a second before she even recognizes or acknowledges Long Du is standing in front of her. And Seir, you hear it clear as day. Sing! Sing! Sing?
And Seir, in the waking world, you see Lumièra's eyes are unfocused, like she's dreaming while awake. But Sing's name falls out of her lips. Not loud and strong the way she does it in this dreamscape, but whispered almost, like a prayer, a desperate hope. What do you do?
Seir falls to his knees right by Lumièra because he will always be there when she calls. And he cups his shaky hand over her blood-covered hands, and all he can muster out is, "I'm here. I will always be here. I will not leave your side. You're the greatest healer this multiverse has ever seen. And you will win. And she will be so proud of you.
Seir, as you speak these words to Lumièra's conscious but unconscious body, you hear a noise from behind you, a scraping of diamond against tile, and you sense Xiaocheng, still sobbing, still hysterical, begin to rise, and between their sobs, between their weeps, they're going, no, not again, no, stop, no! And you see the blade cause Xiaocheng's fingers to tighten once again around the hilt, as they're kind of like struggling to their feet like a puppet on strings, kind of moving against what they want to do, as the blade starts to rattle in your direction. And not just your direction, in Lumièra's direction, in the Emperor's direction, to finish the job it started. And in this state, Lumièra is sunken into the river. She's completely defenseless. You are the only thing between her and the Emperor and oblivion.
Forgive me, Mira. I must do my duty to you. Allow me to leave your side a moment. And if it's okay with Sam, Seir presses his lips onto your blood-tipped golden fingers.
I would never deny you that.
And he gets up, pulls his fists out, and walks towards Xiaocheng. You will not bring that blade down on your beloved or mine. And I will rush Xiaocheng to grab their arm.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to either unleash violence or channel your power. I'll let you pick.
Unleash violence. He has not tapped into his power quite yet.
Okay, so roll 2d6 plus tags.
Alright. Actually, no, you've been nicer to me. I'll roll you instead. Okay, you were nicer. I forgot to mention my tag, so I'll just take it raw. That's a 7.
You're just gonna take it raw? Okay.
I'm just gonna take
7.
it raw. 4 plus 3.
You exchange blows. Okay. You rush forward to grab Xiaocheng's arm, the one that's wielding the sword, but it's like Xiaocheng's being compelled against their own capacity, and the sword is making them into a really good swords person, right? Like this masterwork blade is increasing their ability to wield it. It whirls out of the way, so you end up grabbing Xiaocheng's other arm, the free one, locking them in place there, but then the sword cleaves down, and tell me, where does it gash across your form?
Onto his shoulder, because he's had to hold the other arm right down his shoulder.
Okay, I need you to increase bleeding by 2 more tears.
I cannot let that happen. I will resist it.
Okay, which tags are you burning, and for how many?
I am burning a brother's devotion, and I am burning the chosen one.
Okay, yeah. So that's 2, so you don't take any pips. But just for flavor, I think it cuts you open and you bleed a little, like a shallow wound as you dodge out of the way a bit. And as you smell your own blood, mixed in with the fearful divinity radiating off of Xiaocheng, there's that flick of hunger again. Bubbling up inside you, a flick of hunger. Your tongue almost wants to flick out of your mouth and taste it. Taste not just Xiaocheng's fearful sweat, but your own blood leaching out of your body. The hunger, and the voice comes back. You need me to control this. Let me help you.
I won't be your monster!
I'm Seir.
Xiaocheng! Let it go! Let go of the blade!
I can't! I'm not strong enough! I can't do it! I can't!
You are! You are virtue now! The Emperor's virtue! Who is more worthy than you? Please!
The Emperor! I can't let her die! I can't let her die! Not again! Not again! And both you and Xiao Cheng are fighting against your weakest selves, your worst selves, your most terrified selves, letting that come out in the baring of your teeth. And I need you to tell me, as you're trying to fight against this omen within yourself, this hunger, do you bite down on your own flesh or on Xiao Cheng's?
My own.
Okay, the hunger is too great. You cannot suppress it any longer. Where do you bite yourself?
Right on his forearm where the tiger stripes are. Seir just sinks his teeth into it, and as he sinks, Connie, if I may, the fangs and the teeth that rupture out of his jaw, the bones cracking, are that of a shrine dog's, snapping outward, the tusks bursting out of the bottom half of the jaw, and his entirety of his arm become covered in thick white fur as he bites down onto his arm.
That startles and grounds Xiao Cheng, seeing you resisting this urge, resisting this darkest part of yourself, bearing it down on yourself instead of letting it lash out to them. It seems to fill them with a kind of strength. And though they just cried out that they weren't strong enough moments ago, they pause. And the longsword in their hand begins to rattle. They look down at its diamond edge. And then Ansha is by their side, part of their goose feather hair on fire, the other half of their body completely drenched, chrome plating still on their boots, having staggered out of the kaleidoscopic battlefield. And Ansha places a hand on Xiao Cheng's wrist that's holding the blade, and with their other hand, they hold the blade itself and start to tip it down gently, even as the blade bites into the demon's palm, even as Ansha starts to bleed pure black. Ansha looks at Xiao Cheng and says, "Listen to Seir, my darling. You can do this. You are strong enough. We're all here for you. Please." And even though their voice doesn't waver, their hand doesn't waver, the blood between their palms, welling and weeping between it, continues to grow and grow and grow. And Xiao Cheng looks at the hand of Ansha, of their friend, companion, could be something with, and the strength inside them grows. And it grows, and it grows, and they look at you, and the strength grows, and we cut to the White Forge. Xainan. You have made a god bleed. And now that god's attention is completely fixated on you. Zhejiang turns her entire body in your direction, and she raises her arm with the pink golden arrow impaled through it. And she uses the flat end of one hand to push it all the way through. As it works its way through the shaft and through the arrow tip, and it clatters onto the ground, stained with her pure white blood.
Good. Good. Very good. More where that came from, cultivator. And you will learn the lesson I had to write and weep in blood for thousands of years. Give me everything you've got, Xainan Esh.
Run! And Xainan goes forward and tries to not only make his shot a shield, but his body between the Forge Master and Naeem.
Okay, Naeem's starting to stagger to his feet, looks wildly between you and Zhejiang, and also at Yinghe, who's also stumbling back up to her feet. And you know that he doesn't want to leave you. He can't leave you. Naeem says, "Yinghe, go! Xainan, I'm here with you. Until the end. No matter how it ends, I will not leave your side."
Oh, isn't that touching? You know, cultivator, you and I, we are not so different, are we? There's violence in both of us. Both of us have been wronged. Both of us know that this world is full of cruelty. This world is not fair. It's never been. But a blade is the great equalizer, is it not?
That's where you're wrong. And Xainan, as he's staring her straight in the eyes the whole time, this god that he made bleed, this mortal man, he begins to reach his hand down, and those cherry blossoms begin to fall off of him. And he steps forward, and his hand begins to turn to salt. No dust, no mist. He just begins to fall apart the same way he was, a month ago. A ghost made of salt, walking in a blade at the hip of the patron saint of mortals. He lets go because where he is, they are. And Xainan would like to call a wall of ghosts to stand between the Forge Master, Naeem, and Yinghe.
Okay, that's gonna be channel your power. So roll 2d6 plus tags.
All right, so Sentinel against the ending.
Okay,
Farm boy,
okay,
a student of those before,
okay,
the mentor,
okay.
untethered existence,
Yep,
and grief's long shadow.
that's 6. I think you already know what I'm gonna invoke. I'm gonna invoke
Yeah,
Haunted
let's
by
go.
Dusty Memories, Longing for What's Gone, the Blade of Grief. And let's see if you have any statuses.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Wounded. Wounded 2. So that's a +1.
Great. I'm using different dice.
Okay, manifesting something good. That's still a +1. Let's go.
7.
Okay. Better than a 6. Better than a 6. So on a 7 to 9, choose one. The effect is limited, or the effect is volatile.
Come on, Connie.
Oh, I know. It's like a false choice. The illusion of choice. Everyone's gonna pick volatile, right? Okay.
Yeah.
What do the wall of ghosts look like as they flare into existence around you? Who specifically are you calling on? I want names.
I think it begins with Sing.
Okay.
And then next to Sing, Azalis, Dom, Pyrrha, Ija, Sorna. In that order, they just begin to side by side, shoulder to shoulder with him.
I love that. And their forms are translucent. They're not fully here, and yet they're still here. Immaterial, but material, remembered, but not forgotten. Half-lived, half-gone. These ghosts flare into existence around you, protecting Yinghe, protecting Naeem, forming a barrier, a wall, penning just you and Shrijiang in with each other, so your friends can be protected. And because it is volatile, as the ghosts flare and you see your loved ones surging around next to you, this isn't like how it was back in the garden with Hop Ching, but it is also so much like how it was back in the garden with Hop Ching, because there is love, yes, but there is also pain. It hurts, Xainan, it hurts so much to see their faces, but not really be able to touch them. And I want you to answer for me as part of its volatility. What part of you do the ghosts keep forever?
When Xainan arrived at Trans, he was not a whole man, and I don't mean in a figurative sense. He was wasting away from the dust itself. And I think the cracks that lace down his arm widen. They keep that part of him, and they open windows into a ghost.
Remind me which arm that is, for no reason.
It's his left arm.
Okay. Noted, thank you.
Terrifying.
The cracks widen in your left arm as the ghosts thicken. Around Naeem, around Yinghe, hemming just you and Shrijiang in.
So this is how it'll be. So many ghosts haunt me, Xainan Ash. So many that I've almost forgotten all of their names. I was a mortal woman once. I had a wife. I had a child. I've outlived both of them. And I'll outlive the God Killer. And I'll outlive the second Devouring too. Because the trait that has seen me through all of this has been my ability to see the truth. Which is that deep down, we're just vessels of violence and cruelty and destruction and hatred.
And with every word, Zhejiang's beginning to approach you, with hammer and axe drawn in either hand. And as her feet fall down toward you, on one of the boots, hitting against the ground, we cut down to the river. The banks of the River of Mist, Lumièra. Lumièra, the Emperor, much younger than you've ever seen her, much younger perhaps than she has been able to remember in quite some time for herself, has just addressed you, has just mused upon what this river means, where it goes, where it comes from. How do you respond?
After Lumièra comes to, she was searching for any semblance of sing amongst oblivion. And much like Sing, much like her home, much like her world, her everything, it is erased, swallowed up, and empty. And she focuses back on Longdu. What is your point of bringing me here?
Bringing you here. You followed me, Lumièra. You followed me to the banks of this river. I think because you know, deep down, as do I, that I have a choice to make here. I can go home, or I can return.
What? And I think for a second, Lumièra gets flustered and she gets ready to unload everything. Why would you choose to leave? Why would you make the decision to separate yourself from the people who love and care about you more than anything in this world? And she catches herself. This isn't about her. This isn't even about Sing, or Seir, or Xainan, or fate. It is her mission, one that she's set out to do. I don't know how I followed you here. All I know is that you have a purpose. People love you. People care about you. People would be broken if you didn't come home. So if I wake up every day and face this world with nothing on my shoulders but my wit and my intelligence, you can let me help you and bring you home, so that you and the people that love you, that care about you, have a second chance. We all get second chances. You don't get to just skirt that.
You're right.
I know I am.
Hmm.
Very rarely am I wrong.
You know, during the devouring, the mist was everywhere. It flowed freely between the ghost realm, the cradle, and the city of heaven. Though we didn't call it that back then. Back then, it was simply the realm of gods. The river. Divinity united the sister realms, but it also ensured that gods could go anywhere they pleased, wreak havoc anywhere they pleased. When I ended the devouring, I severed the connection between the sister realms. I separated us into thirds, sifting the layers apart that had never before been unsifted. I had to break the world to save it. Back then, the choice was so clear, so simple. But now I'm not so sure. Now I think perhaps I planted the seed of my world's doom. But maybe, like you said, maybe there's a new era on the horizon. The era of my virtue. Who knows, perhaps even the era of a new god killer one day, to mend the world I broke. And as the Emperor turns around and speaks to you, up in the White Forge, with every step forward, we see Shrijiang approaching Xainan, starting to lift the axe, and as she does, we hear the Emperor in the river say, "I've tried my hardest to stop the devouring, to forge a new path, a new world, a new mode of being for the people of the sister realms. But my assassination at the hands of a forge master I trusted." And back up in the White Forge, we see the forge master stop in front of Xainan Esh, her shadow falling over this cultivator. And the Emperor continues, "It shows me that, though wounds can scar over, some people never forget those scars. Some people let the scars define who they are, what they can do. And they never give other people the chance to choose otherwise." And in the White Forge, the axe comes back and down. And the Emperor says, "But maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for me to step into a new mode of being. Time for me to step back from being Emperor as I've wanted to. But also time for me to be there. For the people that need me. For the people who still require and want my guidance. My companionship. My love." And the Emperor turns back and faces you completely, Lumièra. She makes her choice. She holds out a hand to you. "Come. Let's return to the people who need us."
I have never left them. And they will never leave me. And Lumièra will grab their hand, wading deeper into the water. Now is our time.
And Lumièra, there is an explosion of magic. Sound and light, music and song, hope and choice resonate outward from the sandalwood throne. When the Forge Master's sword slipped between the Emperor's ribs and severed her soul from her body, Longdu had marked her 5th strain. And now, she has finally reached a decision about whether she succumbs or perseveres. Because this might be the city of heaven, transformed now into a city of mist. But Long Xiefeng has only ever played by the rules of her own game. The rules of the God Killer. And as Longdu gasps back to life and opens her eyes, she says, "I choose when I die." And now, I'm going to roll 2d6 to persevere. And I'm using Sing's dice.
I don't know if I can help, but is there any way I can help? Boop, 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 boop.
I love the impulse, but this is completely up to fate.
Fair
No
enough.
modifiers, just rolling. Okay. As the God Killer opens her eyes and returns to the world of the living, a massive shockwave of magic emanates from the sandalwood throne. She'd rolled an 8. A holy number. By all accounts, that is a mixed success. So on a mixed I need to know my own rules. Yes, okay, let me just retcon really quickly and just try that from the top. That is a hit. On a hit, she clears one strain, but also reveals one to her opponent as she fights through the pain. Either a weakness or flaw they can exploit, something she desperately desires, or her true hidden intentions. I'm gonna say something she desperately desires. As the Emperor comes back to life, all of you sense it, all of you feel it, especially her opponent. Her desire to right the wrongs of her past. As she gasps back to life, just in time to lock gazes with her sister, coming through the entrance of the Hall of Peerless Destiny, leading her army through the gates of the city of heaven. And we're gonna end the session there. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this very special part 1 of a multi-part boss fight of Arc 2 of the Chaos Protocol. I've been Connie Chong, your very sweet, good GM and creative director. Pronouns they, he, and she. Find me across the internet at by Connie Chong, BYCONNIECHANG. I'm going to pass along introductions to Val.
Valiant Dorian needs to hydrate. Hello, everybody. I'm Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. You can find me on the internet at Valiant Dorian or also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely treasure I just set you on. And tonight I had the distinct pleasure of playing Seir, making paths and doing better, who uses he, they pronouns. And I'm going to pass it over to Dad of the Hour.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kai. I use he, they, and she pronouns. You can find me all over the internet as Estelle of Imladris. And tonight, I played the still alive, maybe, Xainan Esh. Alive in quotes. It's fine. He's doing great, everyone. And I'm gonna bounce on over to the journey's baddest bad bitch of the hour.
You already know who it is. Hey everyone, I'm Samstar. Damn, I haven't been doing this for so long already. This threw me off of my entire outro. She, they, and Faye pronouns. You can find me all across the internet at Lust for Life X. Follow me on there for all the cool stuff I get up to. Tonight I have had the 100% utmost pleasure of playing our favoriteest bad bitch in the world, Lumièra, who uses she, her pronouns. We're gonna send it back over to the boss to send us home.
It's me, the boss, sending us home. So 2 things. 1, we're going to stream again next week. That's going to be 4/27, 8 p.m. US Eastern Time, as always, right here, right now on Transplanar RPG, on Twitch and YouTube, and on my TikTok at @ByConnieChong. The second thing is we're going to raid someone really awesome right now, most likely, no doubt. So use our raid message in chat. Tell them what we just went through. This was an emotional tribulation that scarred all of us positive together, which was really lovely. Tell them about us, support their stream, tell them Transplanar sent you, use the raid message in chat. And the third secret thing is to pledge our Patreon. Just one last shout out. We're going to be recording a talk back about what happened this episode, and patrons get exclusive access to that talk back. So if you want to see my players scream and shout at me, you know what to do. For as little as $3 a month to get access to our posts and $8 a month to get access to our talkbacks. Okay, C's giving me the wrap it up sign backstage, so I'm going to wrap it up. We love y'all so much. See you next week at 8 p.m. US Eastern Time, and Bijou.